Good morning. I'm Paul Markle, Executive Director of the Barrie Chamber of Commerce, and I'd like to thank you for joining the Barrie Chamber today for this session on social media with TKL Media. I've been singing your praises all week and all the different things we've been doing, so you better live up to it. Your brand story, is best told when it's original photos, engaging videos, well-written posts, community interaction. Social media is a perfect platform to build relationships with the public in an open, honest, and transparent way. So in this workshop, you're going to learn how the most important parts of social media and why online communities are the future of business. And it's funny, we've seen this with the Chamber, all along, especially with the Santa Tour and the way we were promoting it. So this is really top of mind for us at the moment. I'm going to introduce our experts in a moment, but we're going to go to a Q&A at the end. And again, if you have questions, please put them into the Q&A, which is at the bottom of your screen, and I'll answer the questions there. Anything coming from Facebook Live, one of our trustee staff are going to try to get those into the Q&A, but I won't be checking it live, as I can't be in two places at once. And if you do put questions into chat, we may not get to them. So if you could avoid doing that, we'd really appreciate it. So joining us today, and hopefully I don't butcher Sarah's last name, but Sarah Lajeunesse. Lajeunesse, okay. With TKL Media. Sarah started her career as a videographer at Rogers TV in Barrie, probably knows Terry Lee fairly well, and quickly found success as a reporter at Channel A or A Channel in Barrie. Then relocated to Vancouver for a few years before coming home and working at City News and Silverpoint Media. We also have Apryl Munro. Apryl started her career as a summer student at the New VR when she was 18, so that's like last week or something. And then she climbed the ladder at Rogers TV and then landed at Breakfast Television as an associate producer. Professionally, she's achieved all her career dreams, but she missed her son Cooper. So while working long hours and commuting through the night, she also decided that she would be a successful wedding photographer for the last 16 years. So I guess you guys have simplified and taken your talents and done something that you're passionate about rather than trying to make that daily commute. So welcome, and we're excited to hear what you have to say. So I'm going to step out and listen to what you've got for us.
Okay, so I'm Sarah, and as Paul just said, this is Apryl on the other text box. So while we have a background in media, it was several years ago that we actually took all those skills in videography, photography, writing, producing, and we merged them together to start our own social media platform, which is This Kind of Life. So we are sort of, mommy bloggers or content creators, we've created a community. I think over 18,000 people on Instagram. We've got a really strong Facebook following as well as all the other platforms where we dabble. And after several years of building that community and really connecting with that community, we leveraged that and began offering social media services to clients in Toronto and Barrie, using that expertise that we garnered over the years and taking our content creation skills to really help people build their own community and to learn how to use social media effectively. So we do everything from complete management to just content creation. And it's great. It's so much fun and it's crazy and hectic. And at this time, it's really essential for businesses, and we're doing everything we can to help our clients and the community just really stay in the game with these closures. So we will get started on our presentation. All right, can we start? Perfect. So this is Ignite Your Socials. This is sort of our intro to social media. So some of this, depending on how much you use social media, you might know a lot of this or you might not know much of it. But hopefully there's some good tips and tricks that you will get from this. All right, so we're going to start off talking about planning. That's something that we consider crucial for your social media. You definitely want to plan your posts in advance. I'm not sure how many of you out there are consistent in your social media, but we find a lot of small business owners, or a lot of business owners in general, if they're doing their own social media, they're just they're just kind of winging it, and then they're struggling with finding that time. So we suggest the best approach is to plan your content in advance, ideally using a content calendar, which is something you can just create, or I'm sure you can find templates online. We use a Google Doc. And so we suggest planning your content a few posts at least per week, and then allowing some space in that week for what we would call real content, which would be, something timely, like what happened yesterday with the announcement, or 2 days ago. That gives you the opportunity to input content that's timely and is part of the conversation as it's happening. So you don't only want to focus on sales with your social media. I know right now that's a tempting strategy. You're thinking like, I need to push products. I've got curbside pickup, or I want to really promote, but it's really about building a community. So when you're thinking about your posts, you want to think about things that inspire you, things that are going to build relationships. So your story inspiring you, what's trending, something, that you're working on, the behind the scenes. Try to come up with personal connections, personal ways that you're going to connect with the potential clients or customers that are out there. And then you also want to think about mixing up your types of content. So again, this is sort of dependent on the platform that you're focusing on. But certainly we would always recommend you want to use, like still photos, you want to use videos, you want to use articles, memes, graphics. Various types of content are going to engage more and more people. So the best practices, really quickly, you want to be consistent. So make sure you're posting at least 3 times a week. I would even say more than that during the shutdown, assuming your business is still open in some capacity. You also want to think about posting when your audience is online. And so that takes a bit of knowledge. You need to know your audience a little bit, but you can also find that information in your insights, depending on what platform it is. You should be able to find out when the majority of your followers are online, and that's the best time to post. Don't cross post. This is something we will explain further, but you don't want to, you can link like your Instagram to your Facebook and cross post directly. We don't recommend that. Sure, it's easy and you get content with one push, you get content going from Instagram to Facebook, but it looks sloppy and it looks lazy. And we have a trick for just making it look like you've invested in that other platform. But at the same time, you want to repurpose your content. So what I mean by that is if you've taken the time to create a video, see if you can get some screenshots and you can use those photos for upcoming posts. Or maybe you can break it into 2 different videos and you've got part 1, part 2. Oh, sorry. Let me see if I can.
That was just me calling you just to see if I can catch you.
It's my sister calling from the US, sorry, and I can't seem to, there, declined. I mean, it's great to have a Mac where everything is connected, but it's also not. So as I was saying, you want to, oh my goodness, sorry. You want to repurpose your content, especially if you're blogging too, that's another opportunity. Use your screenshots for a blog. Just think of various ways to use the same piece of content. And when you're creating the content, try to get various angles. So it could be, you're doing one setup and you're going to do a wide shot, you're going to get a close shot, you're going to get, a few variations so that you're not constantly creating. So this is why we say not to cross post. So this is an example from Rachel Hollis, who is a very well-known motivational speaker. So you can see this is a cross post that she shared onto Facebook from Instagram. And you can see, the reason we can tell that is because there's hashtags, which you typically don't see on Facebook. I mean, they're always trying to make it happen, but it hasn't really been proven. The location tags don't often work. The tags for, like other brands, she's tagged and she's got Target in here. The tags don't work, and that's a missed opportunity. And the content is too long for Facebook. So, our motto is that it looks lazy, and instead of just cross-posting, you should be taking a couple minutes to tweak the caption, adjust the content for the platform you're then sharing it to.
Okay, so I'm going to take on content. So The reason why, and we're speaking specifically to Instagram, but it really goes across the board because content is king on every platform. So even though we're kind of like directing it to Instagram, it really does go both ways. So anyway, Instagram for sure is always going to be a visual platform, but so is Facebook. Even if you write something in your status bar, now they have a background to make it an image. So everything has to be visual. And that's why we say stop the scroll, because we mindlessly scroll until something jumps out at us and finds it really interesting. So your audience is really, we need to keep their brains engaged. So they're looking for ways, they're looking for different types of content. So photos, stop motion, we've got videos, we've got reels, anything you can do to make them like, oh, this is interesting, this is new. That's what's going to make them stop and pay attention. So don't forget, Instagram will always be a visual platform, and the reason why we want it to be visual and grab people's attention is because we want them to read your message. That's the whole reason why we want people to stop and get to know you. And this is a big thing, especially this year. There was really a push, or in the last 13 months, I would say, a real push for real content. Real always wins, and you don't have to worry about being perfect. There was a time when it had to be so perfect and you had to be aspirational. There's still, like, people want you to be aspirational, but in a real authentic way. So don't be afraid to show up in the real version of you at all. Make it personal so people can relate, because that's where you're going to get the massive impact. You have a business, and especially now, show people the behind the scenes moments of what you're doing to survive these crazy times. People want to make sure that they can relate to you. Okay, so equipment is a big deal when it comes to content. We started off with like a really crappy DSLR camera that was falling apart. We still have it. And really bad phones and borrowed equipment. So it really, you don't have to have the best of the best if it's not in your budget. Just get started. So you can use your phone for all your content. Just make sure it's well lit, well executed, and well edited. Those are the three things. Lighting can be a source of like a window source, a ring light, anything that you can use that's going to make sure that you look your best. I prefer the window. It actually is like the most flattering diffused light ever. A DSLR or mirrorless camera is superior. Like, we just bought a mirrorless camera. It took us years to be able to afford it, but we love it. Sarah's holding it up. We love it. We love it. And it really does make a difference in your content. So if you can get your hands on a DSLR camera, or even if it's in your budget to get a photographer, try to incorporate those. It is going to make your stuff stand out. Lav microphones, they're really cheap. We have these, they're $30 at Amazon, and they go right into your phone. They work on both Android and on Apple devices. You just need the lightning adapter for Apple, and it does make a difference in how you sound. Now, technology is improving, so sometimes like the onboard microphones are working on cameras, but it's still, the microphone just makes a big difference. Tripods are huge, really huge, whether you get it for your phone or for your camera. Sarah's holding one up too. You really need it, because if you're sitting here talking to the camera or you're doing anything with movement, you want to make sure that it is steady. We also have something called the Osmo Mobile. Definitely worth your investment. It's $150 if you're shooting any video with some movement. It is really important. Yeah, and it's cheap. You can do selfie mode. You can do, like, this thing was a game changer for us. And again, the best source of light is a window. So what I'm showing you is like running the gamut. If you go onto our Instagram, we have a guide on Instagram of some of the equipment, from like what you need to start off with, and then what you need if you're like us and we're creating content for multiple people. So yeah, that's the equipment. Okay. So Reels and TikTok. TikTok's been around for a little while, and it was really for young kids, to be kind of general there. But now we're seeing, especially with the invention of Reels on Instagram, which Reels is basically TikTok and Instagram. So you definitely need to be looking at some of those, because business owners especially entrepreneurs, have just taken it and ran with it. So it's no longer just kids doing dances on Instagram, TikTok. It's now businesses offering true value and education and some entertainment as well. So definitely take a look at there, and you guys should be trying this for sure. Evidence is saying that if you create even 2 reels per week, you can have humongous organic growth, humongous, and it's true. Even just do one, find what your niche is, do a video that really does complement what you do, and upload it and see what happens, because it is unbelievable. Advice-based reels are the easiest to produce and are often better suited for the professional. So advice-based, really that simple. You're standing there to music and you're pointing to some advice. It's that simple. And I would suggest that would be your first reel and just see how it goes. Use popular sounds in your content, because that is what's really getting people noticed. And a really cool thing that happened that I just noticed on TikTok is that they are scrolling some of the most popular, the trending sounds right off the top. So you can save that and go into that as well. We edit reels using apps outside of TikTok and Reels. I just find it easier. I think it's just because I edit video every day, so I just find it easier to do it there. You can use a free app called InShot, or I use Adobe Premiere Rush, which is just a phone app. And don't be intimidated. Like, really study some of people's reels, and I would say reels, because I don't know, I just feel like there's a lot more people that are entrepreneurs on reels, and it's just easier to follow them. I really like it. So just have fun with it. Don't be caught up in being perfect. Just start. And we're going to show you some examples. So this is an example of one that took a little bit longer to produce. So we painted this green couch for our holiday studio, and we shot this over a couple days and did a voiceover, put it just music, made sure that some of the sounds were, so it took a little bit more to produce. So if you want to play this is one example. Oh, sorry. Yeah, go back to the other slide there. Oh, no, back to, there we go. Can you guys hear it? I can't hear it, so I don't know if you guys can hear it, but it's on our reels on This Kind of Life. If you want to head over there. I'm sorry you can't hear it. I'm not sure why. That's okay. We'll go to the next one. The next one is really the simple one. I just got like a popular music sound. You might not be able to hear it, the music, but really it's just me pointing. And so the idea of this reel is the free apps that we use on social media. Yeah, I can't hear the music, but it's really, it took 2 seconds to produce, and we got lots of views on it and lots of good feedback. And then the next one is really just, it's really just me filming, or Sarah was filming this one. All of our equipment. Oh, if you go back to the, all of the equipment that we use in our, that's our, like our gear. This is our crew. Just to music, introducing every piece of equipment that we use every day and what we would suggest that people have in their gear bag. So anyway, yeah, so reels are really meant to be educational, entertaining, and inspiring. So they don't have to be like, there's some that have like crazy production values. They really can be that simple though. Okay, and then Sarah's going to take on writing.
Yeah, so writing. So, I mean, obviously with social media, the visual content is hugely important. And we say, you know, that's what's going to stop people. People are going to stop scrolling when they see that content that pops out of them. But you have, you know, a few seconds to capture their attention in your caption before they continue to scroll. So you really want to keep them on your content so that they're getting the messaging. So just realize that your messaging matters, and it's really important. You know, basics would be to double check your spelling and grammar. Now, it's funny that I say this because yesterday on This Kind of Life, we shared a reel, and both April and I watched it a bunch of times and missed a spelling mistake. I mean, and unfortunately with reels, you can't, unless you delete it, you can't really go in and edit. Now, you can edit a caption. There's been some debate as to whether that hinders performance, but there's been nothing proven. So I would say, you know, definitely if you see any errors, be sure you go in and you are going to adjust and edit any spelling mistakes. Be current in your conversation. So this is what we were talking about with 2 days ago. They made the announcement about the stay-at-home order. You know, during the first lockdown, we saw a lot of people, a lot of businesses who had their content scheduled as normal, and you could tell that they weren't aware, they weren't staying current because they were posting stuff that, you know, wasn't relevant with what was being discussed. So it's really important that even if you're scheduling your content in advance, you want to make sure that you're still aware of what is scheduled and that you're part of the current conversations. And make sure you're showing off your expertise, something you're doing differently, because again, that's how you're going to really stand out, is you're going to really shine, showing off, you know, what makes you special. So you do need to think about different audiences when you are writing, and we touched on this earlier with the cross posting. So Instagram, the trend now is for longer posts. It's been a little while that this has been the trend, but it's still continuing. They're showing that longer captions are really performing better. However, you definitely want to try this out with your audience, and we would still recommend to mix it up. I think, you know, it really depends on your business and, you know, what you're writing, what your topic is, what you're writing about. You know, I don't know that you would want to constantly have like 4-paragraph, 5-paragraph long captions. So try it out with your audience, and you know, once you're consistent, you'll really get to understand and get to know what your audience does respond to. So on Facebook, too much text does actually negatively impact the performance. So you definitely want to shorten any captions, keep it brief, make sure you're tagging people in the text so that they are notified of the content. And then Twitter is obviously short and sweet, and you know, longer comments can be multiple tweets. So engagement. So engagement is huge. Engagement is time consuming, but it is key to success on social media. We hear from a lot of people that they're like, I post and I never get any traction on it and I don't know what's happening. But really the trick is to make sure that you're engaging before and after posting. So that does get tricky when you're scheduling because you have to try and remember when you've got your post scheduled, but you definitely want to try and engage about 15 minutes before your post goes live and about 15 to 30 minutes after. That's going to let people know that you're online, and then it's going to signal to them, you know, to check out your feed, but also the algorithm will, you know, show you each other's content. So when I say engage, I mean actual conversation. So not like leaving comments on people's content that's like, so cute, love that. You know, you need to have an actual, you know, read their content, leave a comment that's 4 or 5 words long, and you know, be sincere in what you're talking about. And then it's also important to note that you really want to focus on having an engaged audience rather than a large audience. So while, you know, we know a lot of people are hung up on the numbers of how many people are following them, and certainly there is a reputation thing, you know, people, you know, it looks good, I guess I would say, to have a lot of followers, but you can certainly tell an account if they have, you know, maybe have 10,000 followers but get 1 comment on their post. That's, you know, that's not an engaged audience, and it would be far better to have 1,000 followers and 100 comments, because those are 100 people that are invested in what you're saying, they're invested in your business, and potentially can become customers if they're not already. So in terms of engagement, likes are great, but they don't really signal to anybody, you know, like that's not going to necessarily build a relationship. So commenting, sharing, and saving on Instagram also are the most valuable forms of engagement. You want to make sure that your comments are about 5 words long. And we always suggest, asking for help, especially if you're just getting started with really focusing on your engagement. It's something we did at the beginning. We would, send, if we worked on a post and we thought it was really valuable, we would share it with a couple friends through Facebook Messenger, through Instagram DM. Hey, do you mind taking a look at this? Maybe dropping a comment, or, hey, I thought you'd be really interested in this. Share it with people, ask them for help. Most people are not going to object to, like reading your little post and leaving a comment. Like, most people are more than willing to help. And then you also want to make sure that you're connecting with new pages and accounts in your area, industry, or niche daily. So that means, connecting with them by leaving comments, following them, but you should be constantly be looking to expand that community that you are building.
Okay, so trends and algorithms. Yeah. Algorithm is like, it sounds like it's confusing, but it's really not. It's really about what Sarah was saying. Like, the more that you engage with people, they're going to signal like, oh, these guys are friends, and they want that. They want like a true relationship building community. And that's really what it is. So the more that you engage on something, in terms of viewing, commenting, or whatever, then what's going to happen is the algorithm sees that you like that, and they're going to give you more. So we'll get into that a little bit more. So engagement on posts within the first hour is key to boosting the performance. So with one of our clients, what we do, well, actually, I think with all of our clients, but for one client in particular, it's really hard because it's a wedding venue that's been closed for the last year. And so we've been able to grow their following organically just through this practice. Half an hour before the post goes live, I'll start engaging on people that they follow. And so like, oh, I love your post. Like, I'll just comment on those posts. And then it starts signaling to them like, oh, they're online. And then my post will go live. And then for that last half hour, I will engage on some other people's posts that they don't even follow. So organic and live content is preferred across all platforms. So stories, your Facebook lives, all of those things are going to be preferred. It is going to be showing up to more accounts in the algorithm. And I just said that algorithms show people content from accounts that they've already engaged and liked. So if you're a fitness guru and you're always following like some fitness influencers or other accounts, and Facebook and Instagram are going to show you more of those accounts that you like. I have been obsessed with the stuff going on in the States. So on Twitter, all I'm seeing is Trump stuff. So I'm kind of bored of it. Instagram shows people what they like. So if you're watching more reels or you're watching video, Instagram's gonna be like, here's more. It's really that simple. And Facebook, again, focuses on live content and content that's 3 minutes or longer. That wasn't always the case. Just in the last year and a bit, they wanted 3 minutes or longer. Facebook Watch is something that's still a mystery to me, but I'm still engaged in it. So I think that's where that all comes into play. So when you're creating content, make sure you're focusing on lives and longer content. Some more trends, especially coming into 2020, there was a huge shift where people wanted real content, but still in an aesthetically pleasing format. So make sure that you're focusing on really you being your true self. It doesn't matter if you're having a tough day or a good day, be real about it. More and more video is becoming a must across all platforms. In fact, if you're not doing video right now, you're gonna be lost in the shuffle by next year. You have to be doing video. Instagram stories are a must. We say about, I think it's like 20 a day. You should be doing about 3 an hour. The first one that you're doing of the day should be your face. And you have to use everything that Instagram stories, and we'll get into that, use all the features. They're there for a reason, and they really want you to encourage interaction with your community as well. Live videos are here to stay across all platforms. I find Twitter is a little iffy. I think you still have to use Periscope. Instagram lives are good now that you can save them as IGTV, so they're here to stay. Facebook lives are great. Actually, they've been really wonderful for us, especially with growth, because you're able to connect with your audience in real time. It's really interactive, and that's a good thing. And I think that's why it's here to stay. And Twitter is the king. And I just talked about this, like, it is the king for all all topics. So if you're looking for some of the most up-to-date information, you're going to go onto Twitter. It's either trending or it's a hashtag search, and you'll see it there before you see it anywhere else. And of course, when the algorithm changes are happening or there's updates on the other platforms, Twitter is always there, always there. It's not always, it doesn't always have the best reputation because people can be, I don't know, very harsh on there, but at least if you're looking for some news and up-to-date information, that's where you want to go. And then TikTok and Reels, dominating reviews and engagement, like dominating. People are seeing humongous growth with that. And so I would think that it's here to stay, despite what Donald Trump was trying to do. I think TikTok and Reels definitely staying. We thought it was a fad when Reels was coming into Instagram in the summer, and we couldn't compete. So you have to jump on that bandwagon for sure. And then hashtags and growth is we'll get into growth, but let's talk hashtags first. So hashtags are used as keywords to group social media posts and help you get exposed to new followers. Really cool on Instagram. You don't even need to search for hashtags anymore. You can just do a keyword search, but it's still super necessary. They can be used as a search function on Twitter and Instagram and group things together. It's really good to see how many people are posting in that group. If you are trying to compete with people that have or post that in a certain hashtag group that have over 500,000, don't. Try to keep whatever post you're doing. So if you're like Barrie, Ontario, just make sure that there's under 500,000 posts for that hashtag, and then you'll start seeing it more. There are some hashtags, or sorry, I'm jumping ahead. If you are using the same hashtag groups every single post, then it is too spammy. So try to mix it up. So what we do to stay organized is like, I have a grouping of like 3 different types of hashtags that I want to use. So if I'm doing something about photography, there's a whole different section of hashtags just for photography that I save in a Google Doc. And then there's some other ones too. So that it's always changing. And then Instagram won't shadow ban you or block you. That being said, some hashtags have been banned, like Valentine's Day. So definitely take a look and see which hashtags are banned, because then your post will be shadow banned. So you don't want that. And follow hashtags and comment on the top posts. This is a really good one for growth. So follow the hashtags that are within your niche or your location. And then every day when you're doing your engagement, hop in there and comment on those top posts. All right, next slide. And when it comes to growth, every client we have has this idea like, well, I want to grow. I need to have this many followers. And especially on Instagram, when you have that swipe up feature at 10,000 followers, if you are growing organically, just take time. It's going to take a lot of time. It's really, really hard. You have to be consistent with your posts all the time. So like if we're saying post 3 times a week, post 3 times a week. Make sure you're showing up for your audience. Make sure that you're engaging in your audience. You have to show up. Focus on improving your engagement with your current followers. It's like your friends, your group of friends. You wouldn't just ghost them. You want to make sure that you're still cultivating that relationship. Make sure it's easy for people to find you as well. So make sure you have your handles everywhere you post. So if you're sending emails, make sure people can find you on Instagram there too. And if you find something is getting a really good response, do more of that. So don't just recreate the same post, do something similar to it. So the one thing that we found, especially on this kind of life, is when we talk about body positivity and that kind of stuff, our posts go really, really crazy. So we're not just giving people like the same content, but it's still within the same pillar or same kind of topic. So find something that's really, and you'll find this in your insights. And you should be going in, I think on Instagram, you can only check back per week. So every week, just look back and see what post performed well, and then make a note of that. And then try to consider what kind of post your audience wants to see more of.
Oh, right, this is me. Sorry, I was
yeah.
for a minute. LinkedIn. So, well, we typically for smaller businesses focus on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. LinkedIn, it's important to be on LinkedIn just to have sort of a presence, of course. And you can share a lot of your content onto LinkedIn as well. So like Instagram, longer types of posts do perform best. And you always want to include value. You've got to think about who you're talking to. These are the professionals. You want to think about making sure you're giving them something and not just like, you know, wasting time. If you are adding a link to your LinkedIn posts, you want to put it in the comments. That's been shown to actually drive more traffic and to get you better results. Another tip is to follow people instead of always adding them as connections. I know I find that frustrating when people are constantly trying to connect with you and you have no relationship with them. Try following them first, engaging with them, building, again, it's about building relationships on all social media. And then tag people in the post if it's relevant, only if it's relevant. This is something we see on a lot of platforms as well. People tag other people as a way to get them to sort of engage, whether it has, you know, it might have nothing to do with you. Don't do that. That's a bad practice. Just tag people if it's relevant to them. And on LinkedIn, the benefit is that their connections and followers actually do see the content as well as them. Again, organic content is king on LinkedIn. And now the types of content you might want to see slightly different types of content. So reviews, advice, testimonials, those sort of things that position you as a thought leader. That's where that kind of content is really gonna shine on LinkedIn. And think about doing Q&As. So common questions that you get as an industry leader, as a business owner, that's some great content that you can utilize on LinkedIn.
Okay, we're going to talk stories. And I did notice that Q&A, and I think we're going to address the Q&As later. But there was one question about, I feel silly talking to my phone all the time. Yeah, we all feel that way at first. But we're going to get into some things that'll take away some of that embarrassment, I guess. It really is a confidence thing. So if you go to the next slide, we'll talk stories. Instagram and Facebook stories are important. YouTube does stories, Twitter does stories, but really Instagram stories is like where it really is. And we get a lot of engagement on Instagram stories, and about half of that on Facebook. So it's a really important way to engage with your audience. Some of your static posts, people don't even know what your voice sounds like. So it's like being able to connect with you and having that trust, especially if you're selling something, people want to be able to get to know you before they're ready to give you your money. It's really that simple. The more you practice, the more comfortable you be. So just do it. Do you know how many times we have to redo our stories because we've messed up or kids are screaming or whatever? Just do it. And honestly, just own that kind of stuff. Be like, sorry, kids screaming. Just be honest and real with your audience. You should include a variety of media. So if you are shy, show up first thing in the morning, say good morning, your peeps, and then you can include some of the other stuff. So another photo, some other videos, graphics, you can share other people's stuff as well. Add a location to your stories and all of your relevant hashtags to reach maximum exposure. You can use some of those other like stickers and GIFs. Make sure you're using some of those Q&A boxes. Use all of the features because that's what Instagram wants you to do. And consider linking your stories to Facebook stories if they have different audiences. It's just easier and people still engage, which is good. Here are some examples on the next slide. This is our friend Christian who owns the Sun Emporium. He really does stories well. And so he is giving an example of a graphic to explain a promo that's coming up. Then he'll speak to the audience as well. And then he shares other people's stories, which is huge because then that takes the, some of the effort away from you. You don't have to because they were already creating it. But the point is he asks people to do that all the time. And he offers discounts if you're doing that as well. So it's a really good way. And also the trick, and it's very smart for him too, is the more you ask people to tag you in stories, the more popular you look. So that's just a little tip. And that's everything. So I know we kind of ran through that. Do we ask, like, because I know there's a lot of questions in here. Do we need to go in and address all of those, or
No,
do you want to ask them to us?
I'll start
Okay,
asking them, and we'll just sort of curate a conversation,
sounds
based
good.
on the ones that are in there. In fact, I think we can probably just close it up now because you've answered pretty much 80% of the ones that are in there. So
Oh, did we? Okay, good.
yeah, it's all good. No, your presentation was very thorough, which is always excellent. So, so just to preface this, I'm mid 50s. Well, not quite mid 50s. I'm getting there, right? And I've been accused by my Neanderthal friends of being a little weird because I'm on TikTok, and I get into these vortexes, not because I like watching, teenage girls dance, but there's all sorts of educational stuff on TikTok, and it's fun. I mean, and it's just like Facebook or anything else. I think people don't realize that you can search topics and subjects, and if you're into something like I barbecue, whatever, there's all sorts of content that's related to what you're into. So the first question that's on the board is TikTok important? Well, yeah, it is, and so are Reels, and I'm even from within the chamber, we're finding that going to stories, that kind of stuff, we have a lot more engagement. So using this time while you're on this these lockdowns to work on your business, it's important. A lot of the stuff you talked about takes a lot of time. So for those businesses that don't have the time to invest that, because they're now they're chief cook and bottle washer because they've laid off all their staff, one question above these ones is how would you recommend they go about managing their content, because it is super important to a lot of businesses.
I think it goes, yeah, it's really about planning. And we will plan, like, especially for our clients, so we'll spend about an hour or two every month and plan the month. And
Right.
then we can go in and create the content for them that way. It really does. Planning is really, and then blocking, and it really wouldn't take that long, a couple hours. And then you can block off some time as well to create videos and reels, and start small. Start with the pointing at text bubbles, and creating content on your phone, and make sure it's edited nicely. I think start small, but just make sure you're planning ahead.
And I would say batch shooting. So once you do the planning, make sure set aside one day a month where you're going to take photos and create photos and video. So you're only, have a couple different shirts so you can change it up. Right. But it's really key to spend that hour or two to plan it so you know what you're doing, because people waste a lot of time when they're like, oh, I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't know what I want to create. Plan it, and then, maybe the next week, spend an hour or two taking the photos, doing the videos, and that way it's done.
So, I mean, and the other thing I would suggest that if you know of a 22-year-old that lives in your house and eats your food, but is very engaged in TikTok, maybe hire them, to develop some of that content for you. Young people seem to be really engaged, and they can be a lot more creative and less afraid of getting in front of a screen. So I think reaching out and asking for help with some of this stuff may not be a bad idea if you don't have the time. So one of the questions was, how much time? Are we looking at like a month of planning out so you stay relevant and a little bit in the moment, or should you be getting, into a longer one if you've got maybe, a bigger strategic plan of things that your content that you're going to share out? I mean, I think it's a lot of work to get farther than that out, right?
So we typically recommend 1 to 2 months. Again, this is sort of industry specific, right? It sort of depends. I think at this point, it depends how much these changes impact you. So we always work with about a 1 to 2 month content calendar, but during the initial lockdown, we sort of switched to a 1 to 2 week content calendar, because we realized that, planning, I can plan, like over the holidays, we were off, we planned for January, and I had to scrap all that, because there was all these changes. And so it's really not in your best interest right now, I would say, to plan too far in advance, just because you don't know what's going to happen at the end, of 28 days. So, certainly you want to be relevant if they announce we're opening again. You want to be able to say to people like, I'm open and these are my hours and this is what we're doing. And I'd say 2 weeks would be a good time frame right now.
Yeah. Okay. And I would tend to agree with you. That's kind of what we're doing chamber wise. We have some stuff that's longer run, but relevant is more important at the moment. So a number of questions in here from members. I noticed yourselves and many online companies doing selfie type interviews and content feel absolutely ridiculous. You already answered that question. again, I would say, search around and have a look at what's in, in that content and find something that fits for you. One of the things I noticed is that there's certain influencers that do the same thing. They have the same words. They create this consistency. So when you watch the videos, you're anticipating that last line, scroll on next video or whatever. And that kind of keeps you coming back because you want to see what they say next. And I guess that takes some of that fear out of it because you've got a script in your head as to what you're following. Do you recommend being consistent to a certain extent with some of this content? I know you guys talked about being unique and real, but
I would caution about being scripted because people will sniff that out and be totally turned off. So really just like having some notes would be good. And I think consistent, like that one's a tough one because they really don't want to see you talking constantly every single day. They want to see a mixture of it.
Right.
So I think that's a tough one to answer. Sarah, do you want to take a stab?
I would say like it's, and this sort of depends where you are with creating content. Like if you've had your channels for a long time and you know your audience, we recommend having a few pillars, topic pillars, things that you talk about consistently, and obviously variations of those 3 different topics. Because, once you get to know your audience, they perform well. But at the same time, you don't want to be afraid to try something new. So, have your 3 pillars that you sort of constantly are discussing that your audience is invested in. And then if you want to try something new, definitely try it, but you have to see how it's going to perform with your audience to see, if it's worthwhile. Yeah,
absolutely. A question about music. So is there limitations to music allowed in Insta Reels for businesses? I've made some personal page, made some of my personal page and the music available was different.
Yeah. We've noticed some problems with that too. So
if you're doing on your account too, the type of account you have, like if you have a creator account versus a business account versus a personal account.
Yeah. If you're editing on some apps offer some royalty-free music, use that. If you're doing something generic, you can go onto TikTok, and TikTok actually allows you to download some of those videos. So some of those music clips are already pre-approved by those platforms, so you can download it and then edit it and then try to upload it. But yeah, it can be tricky. It can be tricky, but try to use those popular sounds off TikTok, or even with Reels, it says try this music, and then you should be okay. Royalty free is always safe, always safe.
A trick I just saw actually just this morning, somebody was saying, because we struggle with music on TKL Media versus This Kind of Life, they're very different. So sometimes you're creating it in the wrong account. And you're like, oh, no, I can't. And you can't download from Instagram Reels like you can on TikTok. You can't download with sound, I should say. But a trick is to, and you'll have to try this out because I haven't tested it, but is to save the sound. Like if you hear a sound that you really like and you want to use it, save it. And if you do that, you should be able to create the video in the app using that sound, even if, otherwise you wouldn't be able to search for it.
Okay, good to know. Question in here about, well, there's 2 questions here. Do you need permission from another company to link to your feed? And how do you measure ROI on social media? I know this is something that is coming up with some of our older business guys want to know, well, if I put all this time into it, how much am I going to make out of it? I've never been able to answer that question effectively. It's just something you need to do. But do you guys have a format or a model for ROI? I mean, you can measure where my business was when I started doing it and where I am now, and there's your difference. But
we find everybody has different things that they want from their social media. So we have people that just want a good following. They don't care about engagement. We want people that care about reach and not about engagement. Those kind of things. So it really is specific to you. What is it that you want? For us, we really enjoy the engagement. So if you're talking to us, then that's what we enjoy, or we get back. You can find all of this in your insights, and we recommend looking at that often.
And certainly I would add, there are, you can monitor, there's so many different metrics you can monitor. So you can monitor link clicks. You can use promo codes to monitor sales from your social media. But again, it's really depends. Each brand or business is different in what they're trying to get out of their social media. So for some, it is direct. They want sales. Well, then we recommend, okay, well, you have to, you can monitor how many clicks you get to your website or to whoever you're directing people. And that's really the best way to monitor your ROI.
Yeah. I would say, I mean, when I got into this game with my business, I wanted to be, not an influencer, but I wanted to be a trusted advisor. I mean, and that's really why I was doing stuff and, communicate what kind of things my company was doing in the community in terms of give backs, that kind of stuff, and not necessarily be selling products directly, because it just wasn't something that came off the shelf on a regular basis. So that was important. So I guess you just need to understand what your purpose is, what you're trying to get out of it, and then you can measure from there where you need to, whether you're successful or not.
And just while we're talking about sales really quickly, I should say, even in this current climate, we would always recommend the soft sell approach. Is it Gary V, Apryl, who says jab,
Yep.
jab, right
Jab.
hook? So you want to sort of offer, and then post something salesy where you're asking somebody to do something.
And the offer really can be something like, here's a great tip for you, or something that offers value to your audience. And then you can ask them to support you in any way. And really that goes even to a call to action. And I know there's a lot of marketers that are pushing call to action to every single post. And that just seems so slimy. So I would say even a call to action where it's like the give us post of love is asking somebody for something back.
Right. Okay. So I got a couple questions. I mean, there's a bunch on here. We're not going to get to everything that's on the screen. I got a couple of ideas in here that are things that I was thinking through. With hashtags, you see some posts that go up on Instagram that have like 45 hashtags on it. I mean, immediately my eyes glaze over and I go, and on to the next thing. Or Instagram stories where there's 65, little things that you got to go through on that one business. Some of them are maybe longer than others. Is there a number in there that is sweet spot? Because I don't know. I mean, must be doing it for a reason, but to me, it turns me off.
Instagram hashtags max out at 30.
Right.
So you can, and again, so the sweet spot, I mean, between 11 and 20, I believe, is sort of the ideal. You want to make sure you're using hashtags from 3 different areas. So from location tags, and again, you want to mix them up and not use the exact same hashtags in every post. So location, niche, and industry. So these are the areas you want to focus your hashtags for your strategy. And sorry, I just totally went blank. But yeah, so sorry, 11 to 22 is ideal. 30 is max. In terms of stories, 20 would be the max of slides. I think you're talking about the amount of,
but 10 hashtags in a slide, I think.
Oh yeah, you can do 10 hashtags, but hide them. I wouldn't you can shrink them down.
Bury them in the picture.
Yeah, put them underneath the picture, put a sticker over them. There has been some debate about if you shrink them too small, they won't actually, like Instagram won't pick them up. So just be careful with that. But yeah, so maximum number of slides would be 20, I would say for a day for a business would be 20, and that would be a lot. But again, it's your audience and understanding what they want.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Because again, I mean, for me, just as a consumer of this stuff, 54-year-old teenager, I just get to a point where I'm going out of my mind looking at these things. So
there's also argument that you should have a couple hashtags in your caption, and then what we like to do is like a couple dots, separate the rest, and put it in the so it's away from the body of your caption, so that it isn't jumbling everything up. Or put it in your comments too.
Right. Okay. Sorry, I don't mean to push through things. Thoughts on boosting a post in Facebook? So I guess monetizing. I mean, you talked about organic content. I mean, we didn't do anything for our Santa tour, and we were getting 30,000 views a day. Didn't necessarily get all the interactivity, but I don't know. I don't think personally. I don't like going to the pay model until you get enough of an organic following.
And ads have been shown to be better than boosts. It is tricky, and it's one of those things where once you start promoting your content, Facebook will want you to keep promoting. So they, you know, there's some talk that they will then limit your organic reach on content because they've, you know, they want you to pay for it. So there are benefits to it, absolutely. But I mean, that's a whole other genre to get into, doing ads.
Right.
But if you have something that you really want people to see, then I would say boosting is definitely a good way to get into ads. Ads can be tricky, and they're very confusing. But a boost is really a really quick and easy way to get it shown to more people.
Right. Okay. Sounds good. So we're actually 2 minutes over our time. We started a little late, so we're running a lot longer. We still have got 23 people that are sort of in the window watching. Stay on a couple more minutes if you've got time.
Yeah.
But I want to be respectful of our audience's time. So if you've got something to do and you need to jump off, please do so. Whatever questions we don't get to, you know, we'll try to get responses to them out to the audience afterwards. And we will be sharing this content. It's on Facebook Live, obviously, so you'll be able to have a look at it afterwards. And we generally curate that, so we'll put questions, the Q&A, and where the questions came, you know, along the or within that the body of that Facebook post. But it's also going to be on our YouTube a little later as well for content that you can come back and have a look at. YouTube is one that you didn't talk about. You didn't touch on that a whole lot, and there's obviously a reason for that. So why no YouTube?
Because we're running out of time.
Oh. Okay, all right, sounds good. Yeah, because you know we find YouTube is a great place to store stuff, right? You get so much content if you can upload it to YouTube. It's you're storing it with them rather than with you. So
and it's a search engine too, which is great. So if you're doing some great stuff, and YouTube is amazing for people that have some information to share with other people. So if you have a tutorial, like we did a tutorial about how to do Christmas urns, and we did with Bradford Greenhouse. It is our top performing video in the tens of thousands. I haven't checked it in a while.
That was so
It wasn't even the best produced video. It was just, it had value, and people, and I think we hit up on all the right keywords. I mean, just like writing a blog post or a website, YouTube, you really have to be specific about the keywords and who's going to see this and how many keywords are you putting in there. So the SEO, so it does get convoluted. And it does take a lot of time. We've been doing this for 5 years, and we just reached 1,000 followers, which means we can finally monetize. But I also work in the healthcare field, and we put a lot of our training sessions on YouTube. And the cool thing is that you can have it so it's unlinked or undiscoverable, so people can't search it. So then only the people that have the link can then see that. So it's a really good way of like cataloging some of your great videos as well, if you're doing that for your business. I would say YouTube is really about entertaining and really about how to fix my dishwasher. How many people have done that? Like,
without a doubt.
That's what it is.
The question I have is how do you get more subscribers? And I would imagine it's the same as any other social media, but you know, we really struggle with that at the Chamber because we got such great content that we've curated and made, and it's helpful for businesses, but you know, we have a very low subscription rate, even though we're producing and adding stuff to it.
Yeah, you gotta share. Yeah. Go back, check out all of your keywords. Make sure that it's written in a way that people are going to be starting to discover it.
Okay.
It's also about building relationships, just like any other platform. Like you need to be commenting on other people's stuff. You need to be like finding similar content, commenting on there, going in and starting conversations with the people who are commenting, subscribing to other accounts. It's the whole thing is building a relationship. And that's what we're trying to say about each platform. You really have to think about it as building a community in each individual platform. Now you do get benefits. Like if you get a lot of subscribers on YouTube, you can certainly leverage them over to other accounts. And that's what a lot of businesses are doing, or people are doing with TikTok. You know, it's a younger platform. They're leveraging them over to Instagram where they get more sales. But at the same time, for people in business, like you can only do so many things. So we always recommend to pick your top 2 or 3 platforms where you can utilize similar content and to focus on that, or even to focus on one, you know, depending where you're starting with this, because you can't do it all. And so while we are present on all the platforms, we really prioritize Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, because those are the main platforms for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, there was a question in here about, you know, which one should I focus on? You know, focus on the one you're most comfortable with, I think, to start with, you know, and
actually, we would even say, where's your audience?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
where's your audience? I mean, don't discredit that. So we have more followers on Instagram, but doesn't mean that we've forgotten our Facebook audience as well, because they're very different people. But if you want to focus on one that's giving you more of your audience, more of your leads,
and your sales, you're getting sales from many of the platforms, you know, and you like can know like, oh, I'm getting a lot more, you know, I'm doing the same amount of work across all the platforms. I'm getting a lot of conversions from Facebook. Then certainly, you know, I would say focus there because it's working, and you know, you want to build that. But Instagram is known to be the more like shoppable. People spend more money on Instagram if that, you know, if you're not sure where to start, depending on industry, Instagram is a good place to start.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, sharing from Instagram out, I think sometimes is easier as well, right? You take a picture using Instagram, it's easier to get that content to other places. And I mean, that's my take on it. One of the questions here was about the do not cross post. And it was around that whole idea of mixing up and using other platforms. But, you know, maybe stuff that you do on Instagram, you recycle in other ways. Is that?
So still use it, just change the caption slightly is all we mean. Like, so if you've got a photo going on Instagram, certainly put it to Facebook, but we would suggest scheduling it. You can use, there's a few different great tools, free tools. Hootsuite is good for scheduling. Facebook Creator Studio, which is totally free and is actually the best one that we found because it fails the least and it works the best with video, with carousel posts. And you can do Facebook and Instagram right there. So you're going to take your caption, just alter it slightly from Instagram to Facebook, make it shorter.
So it doesn't look the same.
Take out the hashtags. Yeah. Make sure the tags are right. Like it
and the links.
Yeah.
Don't
like,
say link in bio.
Yeah. Like just, you know, speak to that audience, and it takes a couple extra minutes. So you don't have to recreate stuff, just, you know, manipulate.
It's not necessarily the, you know, not cross posting the same content. It's not using it's a function of cross posting that you're telling people to avoid doing. Okay.
Yes.
All right, I wish we could get to all these. I'm watching the numbers decline. We're down to 19, and again, to be respectful of people's time, I think we should wrap it up. This has been great. I mean, we could put another hour to this, and maybe that's something that we'll do. You know, now that you're a member of the chamber family, I mean, the whole idea is obviously to get engaged and help you with your business, and I think the best way for you to do that is just to show up and talk, because I buy in and I follow you guys. So. That's fantastic.
We're really hopeful we can do some in-person stuff this year.
Yeah, that's the goal. I mean, we've got lots of ways to get engaged. You know, our way of thinking at the moment is that everything's going to be virtual, and it's easy to pivot into the live stuff if we need to. But I think we're in this for the long haul, unfortunately. So, anyways, in closing, thank you again for joining us and for the work you're doing every day in your business, and the work that you've already done to flatten the curve. We're in this together. We're into this new phase of this lockdown, you know, with the stay-at-home thing. I'm in my kitchen versus being in the office. It is what it is. We just got to get through it. But again, you know, further to Mr. Ford's message, stay home. Don't go out unless you need to, and limit your contact with other people that aren't in your bubble. We've got new content coming up. And again, a town hall January 22nd at 9 a.m. with all of our local politicians, and you know, we're trying to add in some other agencies into that to help with with questions that may be out there. We have a webinar coming up called Under Reviewed: How Barrie Businesses Can Up Their Google Game on January 26th at 10:30. So that's taking advantage of Google reviews and algorithms. And then again, we're back to our chamber chat networking on January 27th at noon. So again, for everybody coming out, please, you know, continue to follow us. And if you have any questions, give these ladies a call. I'm sure they'd be more than happy to help you out. They certainly have a great knowledge base. But having said that, have a great rest of the week. Enjoy your weekend. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.